The latest Meta Ads Andromeda update has completely transformed advertising. We've seen return on ad spends drop, we've seen CPAs rise, and there has been an absolute outburst in new strategies, completely changed structures, and new ways to run ads. Now, the scary thing I'm seeing in the market today is that there is so much advice out there with absolutely no proof of what actually works. So in this video, I'm going to show you what has actually changed in this algorithm, what everyone is telling you that you need to do, which is mostly wrong, and then most importantly, I'm going to tell you what you should actually do in your ad account. So on December 2nd of 2024, the first Andromeda update releases. Now, I broke this entire white paper down in another video, but what we need to know and what's most important here is that this was released December 2nd, 2024. And the reason that date is so important is because this is right around the time where Advantage Plus started to see some changes in audiences. And what I drilled really hard in on that last video is that the Andromeda update was being used by the Advantage Plus algorithm for months and months and months. Meaning, what happened just a few months ago with this new Andromeda update did not wipe your entire account. It just changed manual or non-Advantage Plus audiences. And then in April of 2025, we see a best practices white paper come out from Meta, and it breaks down basically the 2 or 3 things that are most important for us to understand and how and why Andromeda is different. Now, the one thing we need to focus on is creative diversification. Everybody right now is telling you to create new ads all of the time and only create new ads. In this white paper, it very clearly states that creative diversification refers to the practice of creating a wide range of ad creatives with different themes, messages, and visuals to cater to diverse audience segments. In the past, advertisers have relied heavily on targeting specific demographics, interests, and behaviors to reach their desired audience. By uploading multiple creatives with different themes and messages, business can leverage Meta's AI to test and optimize their ads at scale. What does this even mean? If we go down a little bit further, it says very clearly, the use of generative AI combined with automation makes it easier for advertisers to upload more volume and diversity of creative, creating more eligible ads for personalization. And here is the most important part. If you've ignored everything else I've said for the last minute, this is the thing you need to know. This increase in creative volume and diversity also means our system must process more information when determining who to show an ad. That's where Meta Andromeda comes in, working behind the scenes to power more complex AI models that can better personalize which ads we show to someone. So the big takeaway here is that as advertisers have increased their creative volume, as they have gone from just running 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 ads to potentially thousands of ads like some of the biggest brands, the Meta ads system, the retrieval system, has had an increasingly harder time. It's taking more processing power to put the right ad in front of the right person, which actually means that people that were running a boatload of ads previously were at a slight disadvantage because the algorithm and literally the processing power of Meta's computers, like legitimately GPUs and CPUs, could not process all of the requests, and therefore it was too hard and they had to rebuild an entire algorithm, which we are now calling Andromeda. So in very regular terms, creative is now the targeting. And what that very simply means is that when you launch an ad, Facebook uses the data, engagement rates, and all of the metrics associated to that ad and tries to match it to the most relevant person. And what this means is you can now create multiple diverse ads, 2 ads that share completely different concepts, and ad A will be served to one audience and ad B will be served to a different audience. And the real problem is that people are taking creative diversification at face value. Just because each ad is matched to a specific audience doesn't mean we always need to find more audiences. So the recommendation by most people is that you should always be creating new, completely different concepts. You should be taking home run swings with every single ad that you launch. You should make no ad look similar to another ad. You should always create a new concept from scratch over and over and over again. And if one ad works, great. Create a new concept. Don't ever worry about iterations. Iterations are dead. This is not true whatsoever. So I want to show everyone this in a really simple way. We're going to be using circles and squares. The circles are going to represent the ads. The squares are going to represent the audiences or who we're targeting. This is the old way. We have an audience and we have ads within that audience. The new way looks absolutely nothing like this. The new way looks like we have ads and then those ads go and find that appropriate audience. So instead of a system that is old school where you have one audience with a bunch of ads grouped in and that audience gets served to those ads, you now have a one-to-one system. So quite literally what is happening is you have one ad to one audience, one ad to one audience, one ad to one audience. And I want to be very clear here. You of course have your pixel, you of course have your site information, you have your conversions API, you have maybe other third-party sources plugged in here, which all have an effect on who Facebook is actually targeting. But the core difference is your ads are the targeting to define what audience you are going to go after. So what everyone's saying right now is that when you have a successful ad, all you have to do is increase that budget. Then go ahead and create a new concept. And if that's successful, you guessed it, increase the budget. Now, what that creates over time is you have to find an infinite pool of new concepts over and over and over. And the creative needs to be so diverse. What that's going to mean is you are going to strike out more than ever. You are going to miss so many times on your ads. You're going to create so many concepts with so much effort. It's going to take such a massive amount of creative resource, but it's also going to take a lot of ad spend to test every single one of these concepts. So ultimately, if you're running less ads and you're only focused on creative diversification, meaning you only are going for new concepts right now, you're going to waste massive amounts of money testing things that are unlikely to work, because hitting a home run, getting a winning ad is a very hard thing to do in the first place. Meanwhile, you're taking less shots on goal, you're taking less chances, and instead of trying to hit for contact, singles, doubles, and occasionally a home run, you're only swinging for home runs, which means you're going to strike out a lot. So what do you do instead? Instead of ads, we are changing this in our heads from ads to concepts. We are not focused on an individual ad. We need to reframe this mentally as a concept. Now, what that means is if you have an ad type that you know works well. For example, you know model photography with big bold letters on the screen works tremendously well for you. That is an ad concept. And now what I've added here is 3 concepts from the same brand. So Yeti coolers, Yeti mugs, they have a massive selection of products and they have a lot of use cases for their products. So what I put on the screen right here is 3 ads they're running right now with 3 completely different concepts. First concept is a very simple product selection on a very standard white/colored out background. The second is a product image of product in use. And the third is a very natural UGC style video. So the big thing we need to understand about Andromeda is that each of these concepts is going to target a different audience, because I might react really well to this second ad right here. In fact, just looking at it, I could tell you I actually legitimately do react to that ad. Whereas someone else, perhaps maybe down the funnel, maybe in the middle of the funnel, or maybe just a completely different person than me, might react really, really well to this ad. And they might specifically react well to this color. They might also react well to the percentage off, where I might react better to something that's in the natural setting. And every single person is different. We all have micro tendencies that are different. So unlike old Facebook ads, that was about finding that 1 or 2 ads and creating 1,000 iterations of those ads to address a huge chunk of the market, you would now have the beautiful ability, because of Andromeda, to create multiple concepts just like this, but the devil is in the details. Everyone is telling us to stop right here. Concept 1, concept 2, concept 3. Keep making concept 4, make concept 5, make concept 6. But what you need to do instead, and what Yeti is doing right now, is they are finding their concepts and then they are creating massive, and I am talking massive amounts of iterations of high performing concepts. So to prove this to you, I went through Yeti's entire Facebook ad library, and it didn't take me too long to find and prove out the exact theory that I'm hitting on. First, they launched 318 new ads in the last 14 days. Does that sound like a brand that's running less ads? Because it definitely doesn't to me. Let me show you exactly what we're talking about in a real use case. Concept number 1, very, very standard product on a splash background, just as we said originally. Concept number 2, product in the wild, very straightforward, very clear concept. Concept number 3, this is the UGC. This is the product in use. This is the raw stuff. You can see it doesn't have filters on it. It looks very natural. These are 3 different concepts that hit 3 different audiences. And what we need to focus on here is we still need iterations. Yeti's creating iterations. Athletic Greens is creating iterations. The biggest brands that we work with are still focused on iterations. You're taking home runs on concepts, as we have very clearly here, and you're still building across the concept. So don't think of it as an ad unit, think of it as an ad block, an ad pack, or If you want to be really simple, as I've said 100 times, a concept. When you have a successful concept, you need to create iterations of that concept. Now, I want to be clear about something. Iterations need to be bigger. Iterations do not mean you change the Firefly collection to Firefly collection. That's not going to do anything these days. And in fact, it might get less spend. What you do need to do, as we can very clearly see from Yeti right here, is they're taking the concept, the idea that this product on a splash background works super well, and they're dropping multiple variants of the same concept to A, extend the life of this concept, and B, milk as much performance as possible out of this concept that is clearly working well. So as I always say, if you need professionals in your ad account, if you want someone who's actually on top of this just in the way that we are, then click the link down below and go to the moonlighters.com/apply to see if you're fit to work with us. And if not, and if you just have questions or you just got some value out of this video, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.